All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And as we continue to get closer and closer to the start of the 2024 NFL season, I want to take this time out right now to talk about some guys who I think will be in the MVP race. Uh, real, spoiler alert here, if you will. But everybody that I'm going to mention right now on this podcast, they have the same position in common. They're all quarterbacks, and there's no disrespect to anybody else at any other position. I do feel uh, a lot of times that there are guys that play other positions that really do deserve to get a strong look in regards to being the NFL's MVP. But unfortunately, the way that the voting goes, more often than not, they give the award to the guy who has the ball in his hand on every play in some form or fashion, except the center. Okay. But nonetheless, these are some guys who I think will be in the mix to be the NFL's MVP for 2024. I want to start with Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why I'm putting Hurts in this conversation, we saw him come very close to winning the MVP award 2 years ago when he helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl. He went 14-1. Oh, pardon me, get to the Super Bowl. Excuse me. But he helped the Eagles get there. He went 14-1 as a starter that year. Had a step back last year. I'm not sure if Jalen Hurts really was fully healthy on that knee. Number one, and of course there was a lot of friction going on in Philly. But he's got to cut down on the turnovers. He threw 15 interceptions last year, but nonetheless, I'm looking at the talent that the Philadelphia Eagles have put around Jalen Hurts on offense. You bring in Saquon Barkley. You still have Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown as wide receiver. And now you just brought in Jahan Dotson from the Washington Commanders. It's one of those where it's kind of like pick your poison, if you will, with this Eagles offense. And of course, the maestro back there for this offense, at least, Jalen Hurts. I think if he can have a bounce back season, cut down on the turnovers, and put the Eagles right back in the Super Bowl contention or help them get there, I do believe that he will be in the mix to possibly be your league's MVP this year. Then there's Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. And of course, Lamar Jackson is already a two-time MVP. And if he won this award again, he could join the likes of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and Brett Favre as the only men to have been able to win the NFL MVP award at least three times. We saw Jackson have a phenomenal season last year for the Baltimore Ravens, 24 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. But it's not just Jackson's passing ability, it's his ability as a runner, as we're talking about one of the premier athletes in the National Football League. I think the Ravens offense is once again going to be very potent. We saw them add running back Derrick Henry to the mix this offseason. And if Baltimore is once again one of the top teams in the AFC, I do believe that Lamar Jackson will definitely get some recognition and possibly win this award again. Then there's CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans. And of course, we saw CJ Stroud last year take the NFL by storm as the rookie threw 23 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions as he helped the Texans have one of the turnarounds for the ages in the National Football League. They won the AFC South, they won a playoff game, and there's a lot of people who are drinking the Kool-Aid right now on this Texans team. And of course, a big reason for that is the ability of CJ Stroud. We've seen Houston, look to stack up on talent around Stroud as he's on his rookie deal. They brought in former Bengals running back Joe Mixon. You made the trade with Buffalo for wide receiver Stephon Diggs. So again, it's one of those situations, putting as much talent around your quarterback as possible. And Stroud right now, I really do think he is in the mix to have a big year. You cannot talk about possibly being MVP without mentioning the name of course, Patrick Mahomes. And of course, Mahomes already has two NFL MVP awards on his mantle. He's a three-time Super Bowl champion. And it's one of those where what more can this guy do at this point? Well, I'll tell you like this. This young man is only 29 years of age. The future is still bright for him. And I think he's going to once again be in the mix to win this award. Had an off year by his standards, if you will, during the regular season, threw 14 interceptions, which was a career high, still threw 27 touchdowns. But nonetheless, the Chiefs' offense is a little bit more explosive this year. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to benefit from that. And of course, he just simply knows how to win games. So once you factor all of that in, I think he will once again be in the mix to possibly win this award. I'm going to throw somebody else in this mix as a dark horse, and that's Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, throughout his brief NFL career, Herbert has never finished in the top five in regards to the MVP voting. But I'll say this is his first year with Jim Harbaugh as his head coach. And Jim Harbaugh is hard on his quarterbacks. Jim Harbaugh is going to make Justin Herbert work. Justin Herbert is already a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but a guy like Harbaugh is going to help Herbert take his game to the next level. And if he does that this year, I do believe he'll be in the mix to get some recognition as possibly being the NFL's MVP. And finally, staying in the state of California, I'm going to go with another quarterback, and that's Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. In just 2 short years as a starter in the NFL, Purdy is 17-4. He threw 31 touchdowns and 11 interceptions last year in helping the Niners win the NFC. They were within a whisker of winning the Super Bowl championship. And of course, we saw Purdy finish fourth in the MVP voting last year. A lot of people felt like Purdy was going to win the award. Had a couple of bad games towards the end of the season, but nonetheless, I think he comes back strong. And the other thing for me is this with Brock Purdy. He's still on his rookie deal. You're talking about a guy who was Mr. Irrelevant in the draft a couple of years ago. On top of that, he's looking to go out there and get that payday. He's got that hunger, he's got that drive. And I think once you factor all of that together, I think that definitely puts him into the conversation as potentially being the NFL's MVP this year. I think all of these guys that I mentioned have quality seasons ahead of them. There could be some guys that I did not mention on this list that could definitely make a run at this award. But nonetheless, I think big seasons are on the horizon from all six of the players that I mentioned. And of course, big seasons for them mean big seasons and success for their respective clubs. But nonetheless, the start of the NFL season is right around the corner. Let's get the action started. Let's see who has what it takes to win. And also, let's see who has what it takes to be the league's MVP. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365 that you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. And as I continue to give you different breakdowns for the start of the upcoming 2024 NFL season, be sure to check out this channel tomorrow as I will be discussing some Rookie of the Year candidates for this campaign. But, folks, as always, my name is William Martin. I am signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.